Hi everyone, it's Jason Lowe here, and I've got the pleasure to be here with Kurt Lui for Thursday without Franco today. So Kurt, this is your first time on Thursday with Franco, right?
Yes.
So
I attend the sessions, many times, but this my first time to present. Yes.
And you did actually do a bit of a pop-up question last time with Fauzi around what we were doing, so that was cool. So we thought we'd get you in front of the camera this time. So the topic today is Oracle database migration with Cloud Premigration Advisory Tool. So CPAT for short. But Kurt, before we get into that, wouldn't mind just giving everyone a bit of a quick glimpse as far as what do you do in the specialist team?
Yeah, definitely. So for those who don't know me, I actually joined Oracle back in 2004. So it's like it's a long journey, 18 years with Oracle, and it really focused on the database technologies in the pre-sales capacity. But recently, or in the last few years, I really focused on the database cloud services, different flavors in the Oracle Cloud, that kind of things. So helping customers migrate and provide advices to customers, which kind of a platform would be the better one for their use cases, using extra data to consolidate, using autonomous or just database service. Yes.
Yeah, and I've seen through some of our engagements when we work together that the myriad of different database options in terms of what's in Oracle Cloud, this tool that we'll be looking at today is actually quite critical in terms of analyzing what customers have and actually matching that and really simplifying the whole experience of getting to Oracle Cloud. So Kurt, just a bit of an update in terms of some of the just how you want to intro in terms of what the CPAT tool is and why do you actually use the tool?
Yeah, I think it's very when we look at the database migration into the Oracle Cloud, we actually offer a lot of flavors, the different options to suit the different customer requirements. So I guess maybe I can kickstart just to quickly go over the agenda here. First of all, we have a look at why CPAT is important to customers and also to Oracle, because Oracle help customers to simplify their databases, data management, and then we move on to the what is CPAT and how do we run it? How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's get into it.
Yeah, cool. So before I talk about the why CPAT, I guess let me just take one step back to review Oracle's database vision. Right, being one of the market leaders in data management, Oracle has always had a vision to solve the challenging data management problems that make it complex to develop and operate the modern applications and the analytics. This is reflected by providing not only the most complete features, but also a whole range of deployment choices in the public cloud or maybe private cloud and even the on-premises as well. So Oracle database is a unique what we call the converged database that supports a different app dev requirements from OLTP to OLAP, from document to graph and spatial, and even blockchain and so on. If we have a look at the public cloud, Oracle offers the most affordable base database services with either enterprise or standard edition. It also has a highly differentiated Exadata database service and also the leading edge autonomous database service. So both the Exadata and autonomous run on Exadata infrastructure, which provides not only the best performance and also the best availability, but also the elastic CPU scaling. you can scale CPU online without any interruption to your business applications. This is a huge benefit of running Oracle database on Oracle Cloud. That you don't really get. Yeah.
So I guess I'm going to ask a question here, right? So if I'm using Oracle database on-prem and I've done it my own way for many odd years, and we've had customers actually do this from the early 2000s with forms, reports, Discover. We've had plenty of those conversations. Then I'm just wondering, how do I know if it's going to fit into one of these options, and is that really going to be easy?
Yes. So that's why we're looking at this CPAT. Basically, that's what we're trying to get to. See, we got different flavors of Oracle databases here: a base database, Exadata database, and also the autonomous. And especially with the fully managed service, this autonomous database, it is configured to operate in one of a few specific manners to help the customer reduce the database administration cost, improve the security postures, and also drive the innovations, right? So it does bring in some questions about the certifications and the feature availabilities, that kind of things. Like certain features on premises may or may not be supported in this autonomous environment. So that's why Oracle introduced this CPAT to assist customers to evaluate and identify any potential discrepancies, between the on-prem and the cloud before the actual migration project kicked off. The end goal is really to simplify the customer's cloud journey, and whilst reducing the risks associated with the cloud migration, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So Kurt, so what is it? Can you show us a bit more about how was it make up of, and what are some of the outcomes?
Yes. So CPAT, in short, that's for the Cloud Premigration Advisor Tool. Basically, that is a tool for customers to kind of before the actual migration, to assess the discrepancies and get familiar with the environment. CPAT itself is a Java-based program, basically that allows you to connect to the source database to validate and get the list of the features that you need to be conscious of. Okay, there's a difference here, there's a difference there, what kind of a changes are required, or what kind of actions needs to be taken, right? So at a high level, you connect to the source database on premises, or maybe from third-party cloud as well. You can optionally also connect to the target environment, the target cloud, and get the attributes from there that will assist the entire migration process as well. And then the CPAT will perform the series of checks to validate the source databases and give you the result accordingly.
Hey,
yes.
Kurt, we've actually got Jason Reinhardt online.
Hi.
So,
hi, Jason.
Hey, Jason, mate, how are you going?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Jason. Hi, Kurt. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
You
got a couple of comments you want to make, since this is part of your world as well?
Yeah, definitely. So for everybody on the call, I'm Jason Reinhardt. I used to be in Franco's team working in a similar role to Kurt. And now I'm a database product management in the business development strategy team. So, and I report into Joshua Chua in Singapore, up to Sohan Demel. And our focus is on the autonomous database and, building the usage within JPAC generally, and for me, ANZ specifically. So it's Kurt, if you just go back 1 second, there was a question on, how do customers, work out, what the different solutions are. And this really is where CPAT, as Kurt has identified, we all know strategically that autonomous database is where Oracle is wanting our customers to go. And I heard Kurt talk about certification and compatibility and all of these things. And they're often thought of as a blocker, oh, my application isn't certified, or, we don't know if this will run in autonomous. And So that's on one end of the spectrum when people aren't wanting to go down autonomous paths, typically. The other way is people are very keen and they just want to put everything in autonomous. And it is actually, as Kurt mentioned, there are features people have been doing. And Jason said, I've been using Oracle for a long time on-prem. So this really is the benefit of the CPAT tool. It runs against the system. Kurt will show you how it works. We really need everyone to go lead with autonomous because it is a differentiated offering, and then quickly followed up with CPAT to determine which of the systems the customer's running can actually run easily in autonomous. Not every, but a large majority of databases can run, or applications can run in autonomous, but with some changes. There are some that are using features that aren't supported, but this really is the glue in our process around positioning autonomous strategically, categorizing which ones can move quickly, and then, you know, get customers on that path. So it's really pivotal tool in the whole engagement with customers, from the cloud engineers and architects and sales into the customer landscape. Once we get customers using autonomous, the benefits that Kurt has touched on and that you all should be aware of really do kick in. So this is around finding the right targets and getting customers in that space, and then moving forward. And, you know, because these are journeys, like the customers have been using our databases for years, decades. We're not going to move all of their systems in one go, but we can start the journey, get them seeing the benefit, and then they want to start using it. And we've got a number of customers in ANZ where that's happened, where they start using it and now they just want to keep putting more and more workloads into this space. If they can't, then the benefit of our platforms, Exadata, DBCS, kick in, and that's the choice that we provide as well. So it really fits into our strengths.
Thanks, Jay. I appreciate the those additional comments from yourself. So, Kurt, I know we've probably spent a fair bit of time in the talking. Let's actually see what this looks like, and let's get into it. Sure.
Just very quickly, that CPAT, you know, give you the results. We do all the different checks because, just as Jason Reinhardt said, that the on-prem environment, customers have been using them for, you know, for a long time, and the different features being utilized. So this is really to go through this and check the, you know, what kind of things we're looking at here, and we identify the relevant objects, you know, on the source environment, and if there's anything needs to be checked or reviewed. So so in terms of how to run that, basically, you know, you can go into the Oracle support website to download this from that support note. There's a package for you to download. It's a small file, zip file you can download there, and then you just connect to the source database and run that. Optionally, you can connect to the target environment. Before you run that with the source, you can connect to the target environment to get some attributes from the target environment, so that when we assess this, we will take the target as you know, into the consideration. So that's that. And
so Kurt, I see the different. I saw the different targets there, right? So it means that you can. So it doesn't really. It may be different depending if you got autonomous shared, autonomous dedicated. Is that what it means?
Yes, exactly. So Oracle has a number of different flavors running the autonomous. We got the shared data warehousing environment, shared transaction processing, and also the dedicated flavors, etc. So with this targeted cloud, we will take that into consideration. For example, I'll get to the next page, probably where we can talk about here. The first one here, these are some typical checks that we do. The first one, the data in custom table spaces. So that's something, how this is constructed in the autonomous. We normally have a data table space in the shared environment, and that's the one where the customer data will be loaded into. Well, with the dedicated, you do have a choice to actually create some custom table spaces. So that's a difference. And when we assess the different source databases and taking into consideration of the target environment, that will help to get the more appropriate result for the customers. So here are some.
And I really like this because there's things in here that are so granular in terms of what people have done over many years that it actually shows, okay, this is what you can, especially the hidden things that you may not necessarily see or may consider.
Yeah, and these are role privileges, for example, the on-premises environment, because customers manage their databases or have their third-party, managed service provider to manage those databases, and the DBA role is typically granted to those DBAs, and they may have their own separate account in the database and having the DBA role there. But in the autonomous, because Oracle it's a fully managed service. Oracle is responsible for that, for the database administration. So in that case, the DBA role may be taken away from the environment, and but you still can do relevant. They can still use the PDA admin roles to manage the database if they want to do that. But just that DBA role specifically has been removed.
Yeah, so so probably two things I'd add to this. Kurt raised a great point. There are some subtle differences between shared and dedicated, and this tool picks them up. So whilst the goal of our product management teams and development teams is to have them being, exactly the same, that there are some differences, subtle differences, but this tool picks them up. So rather than having to go through the documentation and work out, is this supported in one and this is supported in another, this tool is sort of very definitive on that in that sense. The other thing I'd highlight, and the list of checks that Kurt has identified here looks like there's lots of different things that could stop you from moving to autonomous. Everything on this list can basically be remediated quite quickly. These are basically people using their own table space is totally fine. We just need to map it to the new table space as part of the migration. So easy fixed. People shouldn't be putting their own objects in systems. That's actually a bad practice. So we're actually, as part of the service, fixing things that they shouldn't have been doing. And then that triggers one object in one of those locations, then has a reference and then has a privilege to it. So they sort of pick up 3 different checks with one object in the wrong location. A few of these are, storage configurations and settings. So everything on this list can actually easily be fixed. And that's what we're also trying to share here, that even though a lot of checks come up, a lot of them are quite simple to fix.
Yeah, definitely so. So Kurt, this, as Jason alluded to, you could find so many different checks in there. And especially if you've got the different scale of databases, a database fleet, there's going to be lots of these individual things. So that in itself is going to could be quite, there's going to be a lot of data there. So what have you done in terms of actually making it that easier?
Yes, so reading the report can be quite daunting. That's what you're trying to say, Jason.
I'm not. So how have you made it easier for yourself in terms of using?
I think as we introducing this CPAT tool for us to help customers, we've identified some that kind of challenges, that the individual reports sometimes can be quite lengthy, because customer object, relevant object, we have to list them all of them out, and that can make the report a little bit harder to read. So what I did was actually I created a little Apex application, because the result from the CPAT can be in the JSON format. It's quite easy to ingest into the database. It's probably a little bit harder to read from here, but basically I can ingest all those CPAT reports into the Apex environment and present them as in the Apex fashion. Maybe I can
bring it up. If you can bring it up on the screen, that'd be fantastic.
Yep, just give me 1 sec.
So you've been using this Apex tool with some of the customers right? As well as doing the CPAT, but ingesting that, but then also having that ability to get in there to understand what's really happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
And this sort of feeds into the overall theme of a lot of these Thursday with Franco's, where we show how great Apex is. Ultimately, one of the outputs of this report is a JSON document, and then Kurt's taken that document, ingested it into the database, and now is creating a really nice little app over the top of it. So yeah, just also shows the power of Apex, and
yeah, I think that's one thing that I wanted to highlight at the very beginning, that using autonomous really drive the innovations, and this is driving innovations internally, helping the Oracle employees with our daily jobs, because it will help our customers to evaluate and assess the reports. And you think about it, if you've got hundreds of the databases, and in each of them you got the individual report there, so this will help us to ingest reports. And I'm pretty sure the Oracle product is actually introducing more features in this area. But personally, I developed this Apex application to ingest the report, and first of all, can see the dashboard. Now, here I got two reports, one for the ADW shared and one for the transactional processing dedicated. And I can change this to see the what kind of a check result. So here you can see the numbers, number of checks with the informational or pass or warning or blocker. And the other one here, we got 35 pass. There's no blocker for the dedicated in this case. And I can drill down into this, click into this pie chart. I can get to this reports page. Here, I can see the different reports. For example, this is for the dedicated demo, and this is the summary reports. No blockers, warnings, there's 4 here, that kind of things.
So Kurt, this is where you'd actually just upload the output from the CPAT tool. So you can then start doing this this analysis that you got. So what are we seeing here? And could we actually see maybe one of the reports as well?
Definitely. So maybe I can start with the dedicated. I can click on the name and come into this.
Having presented a number of these report findings back to customers and actually sharing the JSON or text document, this is a much better way to summary, a little graph with some color coding rather than clicking on tabs. As Kurt said, we have got multiple people working on this tool and working on how to present the data out. Some of them are internal, some of them are working to be external, and CPAT is also part of the OCI database migration service. So there's an element of exposure there, but what Kurt's done is really, really cool, and we'll be looking to showcase this back in to our product teams to see if they can take what he's done, because as far as engaging with the customer, this is really nice way to present the output of this information.
So in this page, you can see that all the checks are in the one report, and for each of them you can see the results, and also it's a relevant impact and action or recommendation that you can do. And if I click on this, let's say just pick this has directories as an example, and then you can see the relevant objects to this check. So these are the directories that I got in that database. Directory object is how the Oracle database work with the file systems. Sometimes it's used for the data import, export import, and we know that data pump use the directory object, and some of these directory objects maybe they're just by default because it's how the Oracle database works. It has those directories are created by default, and in this case, these are all the standard directories. But sometimes customer create their own directories, and we just want to give them the list so that they can review. Okay, these ones we don't really need, so don't need to worry about it at all. But even if they do have some directories, with Autonomous, they can still create those directories as well. But just the way how that works is slightly different, and we want this to be, made clear, transparent at the beginning.
Yeah, and it's great that you get this transparency up front, even before you actually do anything. You get this data and get the visibility. So, what other checks are there? Not to go through all of them, but it's good to see the breadth of what we're looking at. To understand what's happening. So what are maybe one or two of the common ones that you typically talk about?
Yes, one of them, I think it's a very common with let me see, the database links. Let me just actually not here.
I think it was with the shared one that you looked at.
Yeah. Okay.
So database links. Yeah, I going back, especially for ones where you're using forms reports and Apex, database links across into other databases and also into file systems as well.
Yes. So this database link is actually Oracle in the last, I would say a few weeks. So we have got some new enhancement there to simplify the database links in the Autonomous database. I'm talking about the shared environment. Now we don't rely on the TCPS listeners on the remote side. To create the database link, you can just use your current database listeners, and you can connect from there directly. So, but the way how we create a database link in Autonomous is different to how you create database links in the on-prem environment. So that's still something that we want you to, our customers to be aware. And that's why we still have these checks and just to show this here. So in this case, we don't.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, I think database links is a good example, and the character set's another one where they're not blockers as such. They just need to be recreated, and there are some implementation specifics. And then even with those specifics over time, we keep on reducing those specifics so it can be a lot simpler to use. So a lot of these are, hi, you're using this, you need to recreate it using a different tool, as in this case, the DBMS admin create database link instead of a traditional create database link. And then that has some service boundaries around how you actually need to configure that. And then some of those boundaries are being expanded so we can make it easier and easier. Similarly with the character sets. So we initially said we just wanted one character set and it's simple. And then we found that people have been doing stuff for decades and they've got lots of stuff, and that was a blocker. So now we've expanded that in dedicated, and even in shared, there's a product management enabled process where we can change the character set to unlock blockers or inhibitors for moving systems in.
Yeah. So for example, this one, we've got a blocker here, has started in other table spaces. And this is for the shared environment, because this object sits on the table space called SOE, just an example. And the way how to fix that is
every report will have this, and it will basically list every object in the database.
And this can be remapped, when you do the migration, this can be mapped to the other table spaces available in the target site. So with the dedicated, there's another way to look at this is not this. Okay, hold on, let me just go back to that table space to have the table space here. Here it's a past, because we can, when I run this report, I could actually get the attributes from the target side. I know that is a dedicated environment. So I can go in there to pre-create those table spaces and also just to add, even just to manipulate the property files I used as part of this CPAT process. I can tell the CPAT tool that the target has this table space already. So in that case, the same source database, the review result will say, okay, this is actually passed.
So Kurt, I know we're getting to the pointy end of the Thursdays with Franco. So just to summarize, I love what you've been doing, and I agree with Jason that your work in Apex has really simplified what it could be in terms of all those data points. So in terms of a wrap-up comment around what you're doing here, how do you use this data for your analysis? How does that make it simpler for customers to actually migrate to Oracle Database Cloud, or even any of those options?
Yeah, I think that it's a constantly improving process, and even with this tool at the moment, what we got was a user-friendly interface to present to our customers, and we can also download all those objects easily into a spreadsheet, and present to the customer, get them to review, for example. I think this will really help the customers to simplify the process of engagement and evaluate their journey to the cloud.
So thank you.
I would add, Jason.
Oh, go, Jason.
So we have, this is a fantastic way to present the data back to a customer, as I said. As far as how does CPAT help customers, we've been having engagements probably the last at least 3 to 6 months, and we present to a number of customers who are interested in autonomous, not just, hi, we're doing a pitch on autonomous, but who are interested in evaluating autonomous, the CPAT tool, similar to those, 3 slides that Kurt shared. And it is simple for customers to download. It is simple for customers to run. And then the complexities in the reviewing of the data itself. And this is where Kurt's done a fantastic job in simplifying that presentation of the information back. But it is a simple process for people to run. And we really, if we are interested in having, genuine, deep conversations around specific workloads, we need to get customers to run this, because this is sort of the definitive, yes, this is easy to move. This is what you need to change as part of the migration. And then the follow-up is we have sessions with the customers to work through. This is fine. We can fix this. Hey, are you really using this? And at the back end of it, we know that we can get into autonomous. So that's where it's the glue in the, maybe you could use it, and here, yes, you can use it. Yeah.
And thanks, Jay. I think this is a great tool, whether even for customers to use, like some of the ones are on this call as well. So,
like we've presented it, customers, DBAs have gone into Moz, downloaded it, run it, and send us the report within an hour, half-hour presentation. So that's as simple as that. Yeah.